Last Monday, a small wooden boat washed up on a beach in northwest Japan. The Coast Guard found 8 bodies on it. There were clues that it came from North Korea, including life jackets with Korean lettering and North Korean cigarettes on board. This wasn't the first incident. In fact, North Korean boats have been washing up on Japan's coast since 2013, and the number of ships has risen since then. At least 4 of these so-called ghost ships washed up on Japanese beaches just last month.
These mysterious deaths were reported internationally. Japan suspected these grim cargoes had once been spies or defectors, lost and starved to death in stormy seas. In addition to the mystery of these dead men, another curious fact also intrigued me. In Korean waters, squid numbers had plummeted by over 70%.
The total amount of squid caught in Gangwon-do province, a regional specialty from the nation's East Sea, has fallen by more than half in a decade. The Gangwon-do provincial government estimates local fishermen could face financial losses of more than $80 million.
For the first time, and with the help of revolutionary new satellite tracking technology, we were able to investigate what linked the dead men and the disappearing squid. Two-thirds of the planet is covered by water. It's our planet's wildest frontier, breathtaking as much as it is vital to all life. A place of discovery and endless reinvention, a metaphor for freedom, as well as a profoundly dystopian realm, where the darkest of all humanities play out. Over 50 million people work at sea, and human rights and environmental abuses often occur with impunity.
Six of you. 6 people. We are sleeping in here.
So hot. I've never ever seen this bad. My name is Ian Urbina. As a journalist, I've spent the past decade reporting from this lawless frontier. I run an investigative journalism organization called the Outlaw Ocean Project that reports about crimes happening in this space. This is the Outlaw Ocean.
주체 배고 2016년 1월 6일 10시 주체조선의 첫 수소탄 시험이 성공적으로 진행되었다.
After sanctions, the North Korean currency collapsed, and the North Korean leader turned to fishing to generate export revenue and stave off famine. Soldiers were forced to become fishermen overnight to bolster the effort. Many thought that the dead who washed ashore in Japan weren't defectors at all, but seafarers desperate to catch food, poorly trained, navigating ill-equipped boats, straying too far in the high seas. Fuel had run short, engines had stalled, a storm had finished them off. All North Korean stories are hard to investigate. Gaining access is difficult. It's harder still if it involves its unclaimed corpses washed up on foreign shores.
As recently as about 5 years ago, we really had essentially no idea who was fishing where in the world's oceans.
I partnered with Global Fishing Watch, a new NGO that's become a game changer.
We'd like to identify where vessels are turning off their transponders, or it's called going dark.
For us, when a vessel goes dark, it raises suspicion. It's a clue that something might be up on the water. But we don't know because we can't see it. That is all changing now with this new satellite technology.
What you can do is you can combine the GPS positions with the images to see how many vessels out there are not broadcasting their locations.
In order to catch squid, you can't stay dark for long.
Squid vessels have really bright light in order to attract the squid to the surface. If they haven't got those lights on, they're not squid fishing, but when they do, they clearly are. So it's a double indicator. We can, one, detect them, and two, if they've got them on, we know that they're fishing. And we were able to teach the computer through machine learning to recognize the different fishing patterns that we needed to see. And what we discovered after looking over a year's worth of data is there was probably 1,000 vessels fishing illegally in North Korean waters in contravention to UN sanctions. Chinese vessels fishing in North Korean waters, that is clearly in breach of UN sanctions.
And news reports captured the deadly consequences.
North Korean boats, which are not as strong and well built as the Chinese boats, were displaced. They were pushed further out to sea, and we now know that these ghost boats probably originated from this displaced fishery in North Korea.
When Global Fishing Watch did this incredible data mining that largely proved China's role in the ghost ships, they contacted my team and asked us to investigate further, to get on the water and to lay eyes on the ships directly. I went to South Korea with my videographer, Fabio Nascimento, and we also brought one of their data scientists, Jae-yoon Park. We bought our way onto a South Korean squid ship that agreed to take us out to the key location at sea where we believed we had the best chance of witnessing Chinese vessels moving into North Korean waters.
We'll be there for 36 hours, probably not sleeping, probably a little bit miserable, depending on the sea conditions. Yeah, we can get as many Chinese vessels as possible and say hello.
Satellite coordinates guided us to a specific location. We now waited, and as it turns out, not for very long. The first line of vessels appeared, all Chinese, all squid vessels, in a single file.
Come on, come on. Hey there.
Let me get my binoculars.
I don't know what type of boat it is yet.
All these vessels were dark. Their transponders were off. As they passed in front of us, we tucked in behind and began to follow them.
Given the shape of the boat, I think it's a trawler.
Look through.
But they are really dark vessels. They don't appear on the monitoring. Only radar we can see some metal object moving.
Okay, all right. And there are three? This guy behind?
There are four.
There are four. Are these trawlers?
Look like very much trawler. Wow, I've never seen this. You can see really the structure of the vessel. It's wild. It's really wild.
We were able to gather valuable evidence that they were all Chinese and that they were all squid vessels. We put up a drone to get a closer look and document further identifying details.
드론이라고 있잖아요. 그것도 올려가지고 그걸로도 할 거예요.
We then radioed to the Chinese and tried to make contact with them. They didn't reply. Well, not verbally anyway. But their message became clear.
They're annoyed. Yeah. We see another boat very close. Looks very modern.
We're getting very close. In fact, we're on a collision course.
Flying boat.
We peeled off at the last minute to avoid a collision.
That happened. Okay.
The Chinese swatted at us.
Right.
The aggression leveled at us was illustrative of the muscular way that these fleets operate on the high seas. The next morning, we encountered a second cluster of Chinese vessels. We gathered more evidence of the size of the fleet, the direction of travel, and whether they were flying Chinese flags. We were so close, I could even see their numbers. but it's got Chinese characters in front. This guy's coming right at us. Should we be worried about that? We got two more over here. So what's our total tally then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, this is like unbelievable. Look at it, like.
They're all coming.
Well, it's also just
like zombies.
there's so many of them. We returned to the United States with an enormous amount of evidence. Human intelligence gathered on the seas, corroborated by artificial intelligence in the skies, proving that, beyond a doubt, giant squid fleets were illegally raking clean North Korea's waters. Of why so many North Korean bodies were washing up on Japanese shores, and why the squid stock in the area was disappearing. Today, China is the ocean's uncontested superpower. It commands the largest fleet in the world, and according to the UN, hauls in 15.2 million tons of marine life a year, which accounts for 20% of the global seafood catch. I've since reported on similar fleets operating off South American waters, around the Galapagos and Falkland Islands, and off the coast of Patagonia, in waters so densely packed by Chinese squid vessels that from the sky at night, these trawlers appear like a city of lights.
When a country makes abortion illegal, it doesn't stop any women from seeking an abortion.
But one woman had the idea to look to the sea to circumvent the law of the land.
How it works is that women on waves will rent a ship, go to a country where abortion is not allowed, where it's illegal. There we can take women on board. We're sailing to international waters, and in international waters, the local laws don't apply anymore. And it's only the laws of the sea.
뉴스의 지식을 담다 스프, 저 주시은이 자신있게 권해드립니다. SBS의 지식 구독 플랫폼 스브스 프리미엄, 여러분의 하루를 더욱 풍성하게 만들어드립니다. 지금 바로 구독하세요.
Paradise Beach, once known for its golden sand and clear waters, has become a dead zone with millions of rotting fish.
Nobody in their lifetime, we ask the elderly people, nobody saw it. And they believe in these supernatural things. So they said that's
It's
why.
a bad omen.
Yeah, bad omen, exactly.
Crabs, fish, everything was completely dead.
Wow.
Even all the plants surrounding that place are all died.
Turn red.
They all died. And the water, there's no living thing in that water.
Locals have been quick to link these apocalyptic scenes to the Chinese factories now dotting these shores. These fish meal plants promise employment, infrastructure, and a potential solution to a global food supply crisis. But at what cost? 2/3 of the planet is covered by water. It's our planet's wildest frontier, breathtaking as much as it is vital to all life. A place of discovery and endless reinvention, a metaphor for freedom, as well as a profoundly dystopian realm where the darkest of all humanities play out. Over 50 million people work at sea, and human rights and environmental abuses often occur with impunity.
6 of you. 6 people we are sleeping in here.
So hot. This is I've never ever seen this bad. My name is Ian Urbina. As a journalist, I've spent the past decade reporting from this lawless frontier. I run an investigative journalism organization called the Outlaw Ocean Project that reports about crimes happening in this space. This is the Outlaw Ocean. The 5,500-kilometer coastline of West Africa is home to some of the most diverse waters in the world. It's also economically vital to the region. More than 7 million people from Mauritania to Liberia rely on fishing for their livelihoods. For centuries, artisanal fishermen worked in tandem with nature's rhythms. Abundant fish maintained healthy local fisheries. Then, industrial fishing by foreigners began.
We have to start perhaps in 1880, when the Brits deployed the first steam trawlers, and they emptied around the British Isles the stocks of fish that had accumulated over centuries in a decade or so, and they had to fish further offshore. And basically that phenomenon reproduced itself in every country of the world. The biomass, the amount of fish in the water, has declined. We have wiped out 90% of the big fish, and that is very hard for people to conceive.
With the depletion of at-sea stocks, a hopeful solution emerged: fish farming on land. Aquaculture is often framed as both sustainable and a scalable way to feed the world, but there is a catch. Industry routinely chooses to feed powdered wild fish to their farmed fish in order to fatten them up and sell them faster. Fish meal is a very inefficient food source that actually worsens depletion of ocean fish stocks rather than slowing it.
Fish meal is a product that you get out of fish little fish, they are ground up. They are not treated like fish for human consumption, and they are put in grinding machine, and they are then dried in a reduction plant, and then you get powder.
With relentless demand from China pushing fish meal prices to record highs, companies have set their sights on West Africa as a new source of supply. Gambia is the target. Stocks are still relatively robust compared to the rest of the oceans. It's one of the world's poorest nations, with the least monitored national waters. My team and I joined local journalist Mustafa Mane, who has spent years investigating the impact of 14 fish meal factories that have popped up in Gambia and neighboring countries.
Where are we right now?
We're at Gunjur, just close to the Golden factory.
Do you think it's safe for me to try and sneak some shots with this phone?
It's risky. It's really risky because you can be attacked, you can be assaulted. They are very aggressive because they don't compromise.
Okay. Should we put the cameras away or?
The cameras should be put away.
Fabio, put the camera down. Not only does the industry create food security issues, but it also destroys local tourism with rancid-smelling emissions and pollutes local waters as the factories dump toxic waste. A local TV crew filmed images of the process. But what was deeply concerning and not exposed or the levels of chemicals the factory used to turn fish to dust. The effects on the environment were catastrophic. Waters turned red, and the fumes were toxic.
The smell is unbearable.
Microbiologist Ahmed Manjang analyzed the water and found it contained double the amount of arsenic and 40 times the amount of phosphates and nitrates deemed safe. Locals destroyed a pipe that was pumping waste into the ocean. Activists were arrested, but the pipe was restored.
Why do you think they can get away with operating above the law?
Because Gambia is in serious political debt with China.
Okay. Hello. What's going on? You good? I went to Manjang's home. He's the microbiologist who had tested the toxic waters. He's also now a leader in the opposition to the factories.
The local fishermen, they lost control of their beach. These fish meal are taking the protein away from our dinner tables. So what's that going to happen? We're going to have a malnourished nation. Anyway, we are taking the natural one, giving it to the Chinese. They convert it into powder, send it to China, feed the fish, ship, and bring it to Gambia.
And resell it to you at an expensive price.
The bunga fish we see now will disappear, and that will be a disaster for this community.
The ocean conservation group Sea Shepherd began to patrol Gambian waters to help the local Coast Guard. I was invited on board.
The first time out, we saw a vessel, didn't know who it was, ran at it, got there, and suddenly it's the vessel that we were most interested in because it's connected to this really sketchy fish meal plant on land.
Good. Can you repeat, please?
I repeat. It doesn't matter, okay? I cannot, but we need to keep a hold of the ship, because I cannot.
Possible. Everything possible. Come here and sing possible.
This is a vessel that had its transponder off, so it was already a dark vessel. But even worse, it had no fish log.
A fishing vessel's got to have a navigation log, which is their positions every day, where they fished, the quantity of fish. You can see the last entry here was on the 21st of January, and then there is nothing. Then this is a dark ship. Who knows where they fished? He's saying that they can't start going to Banjul yet. He needs 2 hours to make some repairs. We've seen him motoring all morning. It's a delay tactic so he can get on the radio.
The captain of the ship was not particularly cooperative, and the Sea Shepherd crew and the Gambian fishery and Navy officers told him he was under arrest and ordered him to bring his ship into port. And then the second vessel was 10 times worse. And there was this space, it was like a crawl space, where all these guys were sleeping at night.
So hot.
Fabio,
I've never ever seen this bad.
Sometimes we close here, but the water still is coming in.
Few things rattle me these days, but for some reason, that space really rattled me.
The local fishermen here also testifying that these guys have been trawling very, very close to the shore, On top of that, the living conditions here are really not for humans. Not even for animals, but not for humans.
We saw how rules were broken with impunity to meet government-imposed quotas, but also how these trawlers fished well beyond demand of the fish meal factories, leading to massive discarding of dead fish back into the ocean. The overcatch is left to rot in the waters or on the beaches, like in Gambia.
We harvest fish the same way that is similar to using bulldozers to catch rabbits. And if you use bulldozer to catch rabbit, you will have no forest.
Our use of aquaculture is ironically accelerating the very problem we set out to solve. Rather than slowing the depletion of fish stocks, aquaculture is speeding it up because of fish meal. And ultimately, it is the poor and our oceans that continue to pay the price for our ferocious appetite.
I will run and come back, but I will never stay away, because I believe one thing, that is, if Gambia is destroyed, it's destroyed for us. And if Gambia is made for us. And I always ask myself one question, that is, what is going to be my answer if my children or my grandchildren happen to ask me, what were you doing when all this environmental destruction was happening? I always want to have the answer. And that's the main reason, that's why I keep speaking to people. I keep doing what I should do. I keep raising the awareness level of people, because awareness raising is key.
Many thought that the dead who washed ashore in Japan weren't defectors at all, but seafarers desperate to catch food, poorly trained, navigating ill-equipped boats, straying too far in the high seas. Fuel had run short, engines had stalled, a storm had finished them off.
North Korean boats have been washing up on Japan's coast since 2013, and the number of ships has risen since then.